This Week at Work is the only show about the workplace that offers you front row seats and a microphone featuring experts in human resources and employment law to bring you practical, timely, and accurate insights so you can more effectively lead your organization. It's Thursday, September 5th, episode 294. Today, with an aging population and declining birth rates driving a potential worker shortage, you'd expect confidence in job security to be at an all-time high. However, employees are left wondering if the only thing they have to fear is AI itself. But the most immediate threat to their job is more likely to be their colleague who workshopped some best use cases for AI, not the intelligence itself. Well, we're joined by special guest Christopher Brock, whose early passion for coding has positioned him as a key influencer in the AI movement. He's here to help us take one small step toward AI and one giant leap for your value at work. All this and more on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Good morning, Bert Garland. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Phil?
Yep, I'm doing great. I'm happy that we're moving into fall. You know, the heat of the summer has kind of got me, and I'm ready for some nice, cool, brisk weather, but I'm not ready for winter yet. I got to ask you, have you heard about the Wells Fargo, a very sad story about Wells Fargo employee that died while working at the office? I guess that came out a week or so ago. I've been getting lots of questions about that. Have you heard about it, Bert?
I have. Really tragic. I mean, just as sad as can be. I think this was a 60-year-old employee at the Wells Fargo branch in Arizona who unfortunately clocked out from her job that day for good. Very sad and unfortunate situation.
Yeah, you know, it made me think about some of my times working with large manufacturers, and sometimes we'd have places and job duties where two people had to go together just due to being in isolation. You'd have to have two people for the purposes of safety. And I've had a few questions about is there a policy or is there things that we need to do as employers for this situation of people working in the office now that, you know, so many people don't work in the office and you might be working alone? And most of my response to that is been no, because, you know, the general office doesn't represent a significant hazard like you know, if you're walking out into the back 40 of the acreage, but there's, you know, no reason anyone would ever go back there. Do you have an opinion on that at all about any specific policy requirements for something like this?
You know, I think this was really just an anomalous situation. You know, you can definitely look at this as a strike against remote working. Since there weren't enough employees in the office to watch out for each other. And it took, I think, 4 days for somebody to figure out that she had passed away in her cubicle. And, you know, again, I think it's just one of those horrible, unfortunate situations that, you know, you can't really guard against. I mean, I think, you know, maybe with computer activity, tracking computer activity or time clocking in and out, you know, those types of things that the system can trigger an alert if it notices something odd or strange, like in this situation. But as far as having a policy on this, I mean, again, I think this is just this is bad luck.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Let's take that and move on. I think those are some good points. I would like to introduce our guest today, and that's Christopher Brock. Christopher is an AI expert and the CEO of Primary Hosting. Welcome to the program, Chris. How are you today?
Doing really well. Thanks for the invite. Really excited to share some of the findings I've been working with in the generative AI space with your team here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you. Chris has been doing some real fun things with us, particularly with our team down in Florida, and we're going to get back to Chris in just a minute. He's got a lot of exciting things going on. I think he's one of the leaders probably across the country in the space of AI, so we got some good things to get into. We do have a poll question today, and we've been talking a lot about AI on the program over the last year or so. So our poll question is in relationship to that. So think about this. in relation to this time last year, how much are you utilizing AI at work? So more than last year, the same as last year, less than last year, I'm still not using AI. I can tell you for me, it's more than last year. I would say every month I'm using it more and more and finding more ways to use it in different applications in personal and at work. So I'm using it more than last year, but let's get your opinions and see what kind of trend we have here. Bert, are you ready for
Phil,
Lawyer
I
on
can
the
say
Clock?
we're already, we were at 100% more than last year, but we're already moving to a little bit the same as last year. So we can come back and check on this later, but I just wanted to let you know where we already were.
Well, I know our listeners are advanced.
See, this is live. This is legit polling right here.
Right, as it's going, more than last year. And I would expect it to be more than last year for our listeners. You know, we have some advanced elite listeners there, producer Nick. So, all right, let's get on to Lawyer on the Clock. Bert, are you ready?
I'm ready, Phil.
Nick, pull that lever.
All right, it's time to look into what's trending in employment law. Lawyer, you're on the clock.
So today, Phil, we're going to be kind of quick because we want to leave plenty of time for our talk with Chris. So we're going to talk first about a couple of data points related to the economy because you know that of course impacts what you and I do every day with respect to the labor and employment realm and HR and all things employment related. The first one I want to talk about, the first data point is that everybody, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that about 10 days ago, the United States revised the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is the governmental entity. So the USBLS revised its employment job gains between April 2023 and March 2024. They revised those down by 818,000 fewer jobs than they had originally reported. So that basically means that since over the course of that year, they had been reporting job gains, and those job gains were not quite as high as they had been reporting. This is the largest downgrade since 2009. In its 2024 preliminary benchmark revision, which was released on August 21, and it found that job growth was nearly 30% less than the 2.9 million job gains it had originally reported. And then instead of adding about a robust 240,000 jobs a month on average, the country gained 175,000 jobs a month during that time of historically high rates in inflation. And so the reason I bring this data point up is because people are citing this quite a bit, that this may lead to interest rate cuts. And then I think a second data point that was released just in the last day or two, you combine that with the reduction in jobs, the downward revision of 818,000 jobs over that time period. U.S. job openings also declined to their lowest level since January of 2021. Job vacancies fell. That means open jobs fell to 7.67 million in July. That was below all estimates. And layoffs rose to 1.76 million. That's the highest level since March of 2023. And Phil, I've been saying on the program really for a couple years now that really since post-COVID, that right after COVID, we saw the job market really increase. It was a job seekers market. It really whipsawed very quickly into us doing reductions in force. And I think that we're seeing this bear out in some of the numbers. So the U.S. job openings, like I said, have fallen. The available positions, like I said, are decreased to 7.67 million. And that was from a downwardly revised 7.9 million reading in the prior month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And, you know, you and I aren't economists, but what the economists are saying is that with layoffs and unemployment increasing amid a decline in job openings, the balance of labor supply and demand is really shifting to show a more pronounced weakness in the labor market. And what they're expecting is that should allow underlying wage and inflation pressures to wane, and also perhaps lead to lower interest rates. And so while I hate to see people losing jobs or not able to find jobs, there could be some relief to the inflationary pressures and the wage pressures that all employers have been experiencing really since post-COVID.
Yeah, that's some interesting trends. I don't want to assume there's any political incentive behind any of those numbers being released in any which way. But what I can say, and whenever we talk about job openings, I often reflect upon our background verification business because, of course, we do that on a national scale. And it for me is the best leading indicator of what's happening, and that is when that business is hot, people are hiring and they're running background checks. I kind of can anticipate what the job opening data might suggest that we're seeing. And we're seeing something very similar. We're seeing a slowdown in the background verification business, suggesting that employers are hiring less people than they were last year at this time. So it is a slight slowdown that we're seeing, but I still am hearing employers struggling to find the skill that they need. And it's really about skill matching versus openings and unemployment, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're unemployed if you don't have the skill that's being demanded by employers. So it's really about keeping our skill up to date and being available for work, which I think is going to be a great lead in when we talk with Chris about, using AI versus AI replacing you. So Chris, I'm just going to plant that seed for you right now as we can. What else do you have there, Bert?
Yeah, and Phil, I was just going to say also another data point that the Fed watches, the so-called quit rates. Yes. Which measures people who voluntarily leave their jobs. That also edged up to 2.1%. And that would suggest that people are less confident in their ability to find a new position than they were a couple of years ago. You remember, again, immediately post-COVID, it was definitely in a job seekers market. And people were leaving long-time positions and seeking other jobs and gaining other jobs. That statistic is also down. So that's the last data point. So let me shift gears real quickly. I want to close the loop on a case we've talked about repeatedly on the show, and that is the case of Muldrow versus the city of St. Louis. You might remember that Miss Muldrow, Jatanya Claiborne Muldrow, she was a former St. Louis city police officer. She brought a bias suit claiming she was illegally transferred due to her gender. And according to a court filing just yesterday here in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri, in that court filing, her and her legal counsel and the opposing counsel indicated that they have finally solved this case that was first filed December 27, 2018. You might remember, Phil, that this deal would end this tumultuous legal battle that led the Supreme Court just this past April to overturn an Eighth Circuit ruling that had affirmed the dismissal of Miss Muldrow's case on the basis that she did not suffer a material adverse employment action when she was demoted. And the Supreme Court, like I said, reversed that case. It said that that an employee just needs to suffer an adverse employment action. It does not necessarily need to be a material adverse employment action. So something like a demotion, even if it didn't involve a pay cut, can be an adverse employment action. Ms. Muldrow won that at the U.S. Supreme Court. The case was remanded back down to the trial court, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri. And lo and behold, the parties have settled. We don't know what the terms of the settlement are. Could be anything from reinstatement of employment to perhaps a new job with the city of St. Louis, or perhaps a monetary payment. We're left to speculate on what terms the case was settled, but the case is in fact over. But while it was pending. Ms. Muldrow made some significant case law in the United States.
Yeah, no, that's significant. I appreciate the follow through. It's diligent, Bert. You're
Thank you.
diligent. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Anything else from you, Bert?
That's it. Let's get on to Chris. I'm anxious to hear about AI.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Chris, welcome to the program. Happy to have you on. Can you just give yourself a quick introduction to our audience? We've had several conversations about AI, but you're bringing a whole new perspective for us. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Chris, and what you've been doing.
Oh, absolutely. So coming off the legal sort of play-by-play, I'm so interested in that. Last year, I was the first person to use AI pro se to win a zoning enforcement action. Okay, I got some press on that. So I'm like following the legal side play-by-play.
Oh yeah, I like it. All right.
So for the listeners who don't know, pro se means Chris represented himself in a legal proceeding. And he apparently used AI to assist with that. Gosh, I'd sure hate to be the lawyer on the other side that lost that if there was one.
Yeah, well, it's still interesting story, a whole different story. So a little bit about me. I just got named Chief Information and Security Officer of my tribe. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Pickawashani tribe. So I just got announced that. So we're doing some really cool things there.
Congratulations.
Thank you. On that, I'm the founder of Primary Hosting. I operate a tech company. It's almost a decade old, and we're a cloud brokerage. We try to find technologies that fit for businesses and sort of a good, better, best. That was the idea. I had a really great start in technology with social media. And I see this new movement in AI being that next major advancement in complete technology and how humans are going to interact with it. So with that, I started a Facebook group in December 2022 called ChatGPT for Business and Life. Please join it. We share everything around AI. And from that, we've grown to one of the larger AI groups on the internet. We have 282,000 members. So it's just been this great community and learnings and just really interesting front row seat to the generative AI movement. In my career, I've worked with enterprise companies and small businesses and everybody in between. And now I think it's at this moment with AI that you're going to see it impact all businesses of all sorts. It's going to hit us at an individual level. That's why my group's ChatGPT for Business, because that's what I always think about, but also life. Like, how are we going to use this in our life? So I'm a big practitioner of AI, and I'm glad to be here to share some of the work that I've been doing. Just to give you a little bit of background, it's been really cool. I've been to MIT and Harvard a couple times over the last year working with some of their teams. We've helped launch this MIT Orbit program for startups in the Midwest using some solutions out of the MIT. It's the Martin Trust School of Entrepreneurship has developed a program that they've allowed us to launch. It's been very successful. We built chatbots for all types of sources that are really, really good in the business realm and for colleges. We've really been able to not only like take AI, but like put it in practice. So it's been a really great opportunity over the last 18 months. And from that, I guess we can get right into it, Phil.
Yeah. So, Chris, I mean, that's a fantastic background. Pioneers like yourself, I always find great conversations, and I kind of geek out in it and only understand about half of what they're telling me. But nevertheless, when you work with MIT or Harvard or in your discovery, how are you seeing that AI is being used in business today? What are some of the more popular trends and spaces where AI is being used?
Okay, so the first thing I would say, when you go to Boston or San Francisco, they're not afraid to use AI. There's no fear. There's no false evidence appearing real. That's how I sort of I label it, in using AI. I feel that like some people are afraid to use it, and this is a system that you got to use yourself. So in the coast, they're just using it, and they're not afraid to not use technology. That's probably being an early adopter is what is a big point right now. So I think that if you're able to be an early adopter, the next thing is, how do you understand AI? Paul Beyer, he runs a company called GAI Insights. They have a great conference, GAI World in Boston. He's also a fellow at Harvard for their generative AI unit. Him and his team have come up with this idea of answering what is artificial intelligence and what is it going to impact at work. Okay. And he calls this the WINS framework. And it means AI is going to impact anything that deals with words, images, numbers, and sounds. And if you think about that in your workplace, what are you doing right now that is dealing with words, images, numbers, and sounds? And if you find that you're writing a lot of emails, it's words. How can you use AI to write better emails or better contracts or better learning management system training for your new hires or continuing education? How can you use AI to create text? Images, that's always tough. Like, you're going to go to a stock website to get some photos or try to get a photographer to take them yourself or for you, or can you just type in a command with a prompt and now you have images for your website or for your job posting? You can do that now. That's images. Numbers, a lot of people don't really completely understand how AI is going to impact numbers. It still has a little bit of struggle, so you can't trust it completely, but it's a really good calculator, or it's tying into systems that are going to be calculators or estimators or all types of things. So you're going to see numbers be impacted. And then what's really cool with sounds, imagine using AI. You have this great learning management tool, or you have this area on your website that's great, but you want to be able to be more accessible. You can now turn it into an audio readable fashion website very fast. So now you can turn words into sounds in a very clean fashion. So when you're at this work level, think of your wins, and then you can start finding use cases that maybe you can apply AI to, because you're not going to just have one AI. You're probably going to have a lot of different AI agents out there. So I think that's really what we're seeing at the sort of collegiate level, is there's early adoption with no fear. They understand what AI does and what it doesn't do. It's not going to replace experts, that's for sure. That's what they feel, but it's going to turn people. And this is probably the other thing they believe. If you could be 3 to 5 times better than the next athlete, I think this is like something from Bill Gates. He said like LeBron James can be 3 to 5 times better than anybody on the court athletically, but he's not 50. Bill Gates said 15 years ago that you can be 50 times better by using technology than the other person just by using software. Now, if you look at it like an expert and use AI on a one-to-one basis, you're using it for yourself, you could probably be 3 to 5 times better. I used to think 10x would be really impressive. When you go to places like MIT, they're saying you can be 1,000 times better.
Oh, wow.
And more productive. And when you hear a number like that, that's 1,000 me's.
I can't even imagine 1,000 times better. I mean, Bert is as good as they get. I just can't imagine 1,000 times Bert Garland. Just let's think about that for a minute. We'd just be blown away. All right,
that would be that would indeed be frightening, Phil.
That would be. Chris, one thing that I've heard you say is that AI is not going to replace you, but the person who knows how to use AI might replace you. Because one of the fears is, AI is going to replace the HR professional. I mean, I work with HR people every single day, and we had a pretty large group. I'd say close to about 65 HR folks packed in a room, and their biggest concern was it's going to replace me. And I made the same comment. I said, I don't think it's going to replace us. I think if we don't know how to use it, it's just like we didn't know how to use Word and Excel and PowerPoint when it first was released. Then you became less effective, and maybe you didn't have the skill match for the job you were going to apply for. Can you just talk a little bit about your comment? Not AI replacing you, but the person who knows how to use AI.
That's 100% correct. I think reskilling yourself into AI or just skilling yourself, in my opinion, people talk about AI like, oh, I was doing AI 10 years ago. They weren't. It didn't exist. This stuff was in labs in 2017, 2018, and really just hit the world all at one time in December of 2022 into November. So everybody needs this skill. It's going to be a very important skill. So learning that skill early on and knowing that you're an expert is the ultimate place to be for longevity in your business. I would believe, just because if you can learn this, you're going to be effective, efficient. You're going to be able to know how to utilize it for your business case. You're also going to be able to know if the AI gives you a bad answer, that you're the expert and you're like, you know what, robot, you're wrong on this one. The right way is doing this. And that's why it's important to have a human in the loop. AIs absolutely need that human in the loop, and you need to become that human in the loop, because what's going to happen, somebody that can come in and do the entire like mundane tasks, if somebody can automate the mundane tasks when they come in and you're doing something 1,000 times a year, they can build a workflow, and now that mundane task that took 12 minutes now takes them 12 seconds. That's the type of gains they're going to get in effectiveness. And you don't want to position yourself that I'm focusing on doing the mundane tasks. You got to think about how do you control AI to allow the AI to handle those mundane tasks, and you'll be very effective. And will you be leaner? Maybe in certain cases, but there's also this theory of abundance that, like, if you could do your job better and you're already an expert, imagine getting 3 to 5 times you in the office. Now there's already a budget paying for your office. Now people have more time to do things you weren't doing before. Maybe you can explore new opportunities, new education tracks, new certifications, bringing in new services, and things for your employees that just make their lives better. Imagine you can do more with less with AI.
So one of the things that happens in the conversations I'm in, and people are saying, well, we need a policy around AI. Our leaders don't want people just using AI, trade secrets, controlling information, a very conservative type position, which I completely understand. And I know you've been working with the HR community in that space. What have you learned so far?
Okay, so this is super important. If you work for a company and they're currently a moratorium on don't use AI, you probably shouldn't use AI, but shouldn't not be skilling yourself at home on how to use AI. Okay, because your business is gonna come too. But what there is right now is a policy issue. Last year was shock and all. No one ever seen this sort of AI. AI's here. This year was the year you're probably putting teams together to figure out your policy and implementation. This year, figure that out, know what your rules are, encourage your company to make everybody that's making that decision on the team use AI by themselves at home for 2 hours on projects. Just make them, make recipes, do a story with their kids, make a plan, do personal stuff, but everybody making the AI decisions in your business should be using it for at least a few hours. That's
your kids' homework using AI.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids are going to do that with their AI. That's a whole different can of worms. But I do think you should have your policy set up really quickly. That way you can start use cases and co-piloting different ways to use AI in your organization. And I wouldn't let your cybersecurity team stop your marketing team from writing blogs with AI, because they're so concerned about AI up here, like your HR records. Let's not put that stuff in the AI yet. But if you have a job description you're putting out, how do you get access to be able to write job descriptions easier with AI? So that's what you should push for.
Chris, you bring up great points. I mean, even my firm, we do have a policy. We advise clients on policies, and our internal policy, of course, is that if you are going to use AI, first of all, we have to make clients aware of it ethically, and second is we cannot upload anything to AI that would reveal attorney-client privilege or reveal a client's identity or anything like that. So the firm has thought about it. We are looking at some projects to do generative AI in-house so that everything is sort of retained in-house, and might allow our firm to adopt it a little bit more broadly. But the point is that we are thinking about it. We do have a policy, and we're advising clients on policies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And it's very important because your business, this IP is important, but we are definitely moving into a world where this AI, imagine if you had a workflow and all these teams that you can improve a certain percentage by applying AI, and the benefit far outweighs the risks, which it very well could. How do you get past these cybersecurity tools?
Yeah. So, Chris, when you're thinking about some of the cool things you're seeing businesses do at work with AI, can you give us some insight? Like, hey, here's some cool things people are doing. Help us understand how AI is being utilized from your point of view.
So, people are using the AIs, just the basic ChatGPT, OpenAI system, or Claude, Sonnet for 3.5 came out. It's really awesome. And Gemini, which is Google's product. So that's the foundational models everybody should try to use. The next step is like, how do you build a GPT or an agent or a chatbot? Imagine you have a website with a big knowledge base and a lot of support information, a lot of HR information. Imagine having an AI chatbot. You can just ask a question and it answers, and it doesn't make it up, and it's coming right from policy. It even cites it. Those sort of knowledge.
So I hear people talk about creating these chatbots, if I can interrupt you for a moment. So I have no idea how to create the chatbot. Is that something that you would envision one day many of us just know how to do? Or is that something that, you go to a programmer and to an IT company and they create these things for you?
Last November, long story short, you're going to do it yourself most likely soon. But right now, you might need a white glove, some assistance, because it's so new. That being said, there's platforms that are low code, no code. And in November of last year, we had something called the Nitro Boot Camp in Cincinnati. We turned on 30 companies, women-owned, minority-owned businesses that went through a program accelerator. In one day, they were able to deploy their own chatbot for their business. We've held these a couple different times, and this is a big movement. They're called RAG AIs. Okay. And what that means, you can train an AI on your data, because you might ask the AI, hey, tell me about my business. And it's like, I don't know anything about your business. It's not in the model. That's okay. How do you train your data into it for your use? So that's going to be something you can do on your own. And the next thing that will then happen, you'll be able to build AI workflows, meaning you have an input form on your website, and it analyzes it and it responds back in real time and can put it into maybe a system of yours. So those AI workflows are what we're going to see over the next year and a half really roll out.
Yeah, I know that's something that we've been experimenting with here at AIM for our internal utilization of workflow and data analysis, as well as for the benefit of our member organizations as well. And it's been a very interesting learning. Chris, I think I could chat with you all day. I got one closing question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I did see it on social media, not necessarily on your social media site, but I am going to join that as soon as we get offline here. And how many R's are there in strawberry? Have you seen this?
3. I have seen this. Okay. Yeah. And I think it's very easy to trick a person, and it's very easy to trick an AI if that's your intention. But if your intention is to play it like that, you're going to have some issues, and you're going to be able to say, hey, the AI got it wrong. I think that if you focus on ways that the AI gets it right, that's where the benefit really is that. So don't get discouraged when you see this weird story of, it doesn't know anything. Trust me, the AIs know a lot of things. And if you know how to use it, you're going to elevate your capability.
Yeah, I have found it to be nothing but very useful for myself. And very few times, if I'm writing an email or a letter or a blog of some sort, whatever I'm doing, when I offer it to AI to improve it, I always like the outcome better than the input I started with. And I think it's a true testament there. All right, Chris, tell us one more time about your Facebook page so our listeners can go follow you and join that.
So you can join us at ChatGPT for Business and Life over on Facebook. You can see me on other social media. It's Christopher Brock. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully you learned some things. I'll keep a little bit more eye on the HR space and make sure to send you some more updates so you can share.
Absolutely. Would love to be able to have you back on someday and get an update and move forward. Nick, real quick, can we get a quick look at the poll as we exit here?
There you go. So we stayed strong with more than last year. And we're so proud of the audience. There's I am still not using AI, and certainly nobody went in the wrong direction. So we're in good shape.
Well, that's good. I think we're helping the movement here. So happy to see that. Chris, thanks again. Good luck to you. And producer Nick, thank you. And to all of our listeners, we'll be back here next week at 7:30 Central Time. Until then, go out and be good to somebody.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues, forward our invites, Share the link, aimea.org/This Week at Work, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment. LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're everywhere you are. Don't forget you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.